Everybody, Chief Meteorologist Tim Buckley live with you. It is 8 o'clock here on our Tuesday evening. We're talking about Saturday, talking about Sunday, both days. We're going to have a big weather impact to your life. We call it a weather impact alert with good reason. This time, I think it's a pretty easy call. So what we need to figure out is obviously how much snow people are going to get, how much ice people are going to get. What we know, though, and what I'm pretty confident in, is that this storm is not going to miss us. People have asked, could it still miss us? Could it turn into rain? Neither of those things are really on the table. We have a ton of moisture available. We have a ton of cold air available as well. And so what we're likely to see is one of a couple options. Either you get almost all snow out of this thing, and boy, are the totals really, really high. A lot of snow. That's an option. Another option would be snow, but you're mixing in with sleet, and so it's a little compacted and a little more icy to it, but not an ice storm with freezing rain. And the other option would be you have the mixed bag of snow, sleet, and freezing rain, and that's where you add weight to the trees and to the power lines. A full-on freezing rain event, that's even worse, but that's more likely farther south to our area. So we have a lot to talk to. I'm going to get you going here with the forecast, and we're going to keep these going as we go throughout the next couple of days. Main points first off, weather impact alert Saturday and Sunday. Well, winter storm is looking pretty likely. We don't say that lightly. It's not something that we do often, 5 days away. But there's just a lot on the table this time. So different than previous systems where there's a lot of moisture, like I said, a lot of cold air. Both of those things are in play. So what could you get out of that? Well, a high impact winter storm consisting either of heavy snow, a good amount of sleet, or a good amount of ice. Even on the table is, these are impacts that could be really, really bad. This starts sometime during the day on Saturday. We don't know whether it's morning or afternoon just yet. And it ends sometime Sunday, and that could be late Sunday. So we're basically talking about a 2-day winter weather event, and that's going to create dangerous travel on the roadways. That much is basically baked into the cake here. And power problems, that's going to really, matter on who gets the ice. Power outages are the biggest piece of the equation that we see with ice rather than snow. Typically, if you get just a heavy snow event, the power outages are manageable. But when you mix ice into the equation, that's when things start to be a bit of an issue. But we are going to have the cold air, we are going to have the moisture. So it's a question at this point of, where do those lines set up? Do you have a situation like this where the snow is, dominating in our area? Or that icier color, that pinkish shade where you have more freezing rain mixing in, that's in our southern counties. That could be one scenario. Another scenario would be that zone shifts farther north and we have to deal with more of the icy problems in our Triad area. That's really not what you would want, and that would bring more in the way of power outage risk along with still bad travel. Another option would be it trends farther off to the south and then you're all pretty much snow and everybody's shoveling a lot. Either way, whatever happens in those scenarios, we would be dealing with a lot of cleanup and a lot of headache on the roadways. Show you a couple of different options. Here's a computer model from this afternoon. Paints a pretty snowy picture for us, to say the least. That darker blue is extremely heavy snowfall for a good chunk of the day on Saturday. And then we work our way into Sunday. That pinkish shade, that's sleet mixing in as we go into Sunday night, and it doesn't shut it off until Monday morning. That is a very long duration event and a very concerning look for our area. We would have an enormous amount of snow if that system played out the way that we see it. Now, what about this scenario? This one is, similar in some ways, but different in others. It starts later, so it gets us not really going until the second half of the day on Saturday. But then it really gets it going with the snowfall through Sunday morning. And beyond that, we see then that mixing happening more on Sunday during the day. Again, primarily sleet for our area. And so you take all these things into the equation, it's just going to be a mess. It's whether it's a snowy mess or an icy mess, it's going to be a mess one way or another. And so we're not putting out a snow map just yet or anything like that, but these are things that we really have to consider. These are things that we really have to consider. So here are some options when it comes to your amounts. Looking at different computer models, this is a lot in the way of snow. A lot in the way of snow. 90% chance of an inch of snow on the European model here, 80% chance on the GFS. Now, all of these numbers, they don't factor in sleet, and so I don't really think that we are looking, these numbers are probably a little high, is what I'm saying. But either way, you're looking at a situation where you're very likely to get a winter storm, whether it be the snow or whether it be the ice. And it's important to keep into perspective where we are in this forecasting process. We are still about 4 to 5 days away from the beginning of this event. And there's always a lot that we don't know about a weather system at this point in the game. It's just too early still to know a lot of those details that everybody wants to know, which is, how much snow can I have? Can I play in it? And can I see ice? Those are the things people want to know. I want to know if it's a fun storm or just a dangerous storm. So those are things to consider. At this stage in the game, usually we don't have a very good idea on that, which is why we're still figuring out whether it's a snowstorm, a sleet storm, or an ice storm. And it's been such a while since we've had a significant amount of snow around here. If you count, it's been 2,598 days. So by this weekend, it will have been 2,600 days since we've had 4 inches or more of snow. That was back in December of 2018, so it's been an awfully long time. Long time. Now, if we were trying to forecast all these details out right now, I would be putting this out there. I tend to think the impacts of snow to our area are bigger than the impacts of ice. But again, that could change. That could change. Freezing rain is a concern, obviously. Power outages are a concern if you have freezing rain, obviously. So these are things that we have to think about as we get a little bit closer, and we'll be fine-tuning that every day. Another thing to consider is just how cold it's going to be during and after the event. A large amount of cold air looks likely. And with that being said, this is something that's going to be with us for a while. Whatever falls on Saturday and Sunday from ice or snow, it's going to be on the grounds for a while. It'll be on the roads for a while. And really, if you have a power outage here, that's a very serious situation, because then your house is getting super, super cold. So things you might want to be keeping in mind to keep yourself prepared: a little bit of a home checklist, food and water, heat sources, ways to light around the home, medications that you might need to pick up throughout the week. These are all things that you have to keep in mind because of the impact. Basically, the main impact with this event is that you could be stuck at home for several days. And what are you going to need when you're stuck at home for several days? So pay attention, have a plan for yourself. All of these are things to consider right now. And even though we don't know all the details of the storm, we know enough to know it's going to be a big problem for all of our lives. You know, I've got to think about, once I get to work on Saturday, how long am I going to be here? Am I going to be several days? Possibly. Those are types of things that I'm thinking about already, and things that you might consider thinking about as well. So these are all things not to scare you, but just to get you prepared as we work our way into the weekend. And we'll continue to be tracking it for you all throughout the way. So if you're rooting for snow, that would probably be the best way for us to avoid power outages and issues. If you're rooting for it to just go away, that's probably not going to happen. This one does have a high chance of delivering a good amount of frozen precipitation one way or another, whether it be snow or ice or sleet or a combination of the three. That's your update for right now here from the Weather Center. We'll continue to keep you posted. I'll leave you with some live radar here, and we'll see you back here around 10 o'clock, actually.